What's up, everybody? Happy Friday, open mic Friday. Good morning, Ben. How you doing today?
Good morning. Just getting the day started.
Me too. Enjoying a cup of coffee in my I Love Dad cup. Oh, the right way too.
My Superman cup. Superman.
Right on, right on. I had a couple conversations with some people. I know Daniel. Oh, there's Daniel right there, coming right back on with us. I was going to say we had a couple people that were saying they were going to join us, whether they were in the comments or live with us. But we're really here on Fridays just to have a conversation, have a cup of coffee. You know, if you're having some immediate struggles and there's something you think that we can help you with, we'd love to hear it. Stop in. I see Daniel's in here joining us. We'd love to talk things out. What did you say a minute ago, Ben? Meeting of the minds?
Meeting of the minds. Just the meeting of the minds. Just a quick conversation. I think now, what's happening now with the whole quarantine shutdown, it's going to change a lot. People would have a cup of coffee and maybe have a conversation with someone next to you. Now this is going to be the new thing where people will have having these kind of meetings on the phone, on social, on a Zoom meeting, or if it's a FaceTime conversation, it's going to be happening, right? This is the kind
right.
of
this is going to be the new norm, right?
Yeah, it's the new norm. So get ready. You got to practice. You got to get this. You got
to get into the flow, right? I'm just sharing it and getting on here. I see Daniel's joining us. But yeah, that new norm, people meeting virtually and trying to understand the nuances. Right before we got on, when we log on, I'm still new to this. This is the end of our second week of doing this. And the way Zoom communicates with the Facebook Live, I was struggling with that. What was the first 3-4 days, man? And I just couldn't get it right. And I wish you guys would have seen me behind the scenes. I'm frazzled, going, oh my God, I'm not going to make this. I'm very, very particular with my time. So if I say I'm going to be there at 7:30, you bet I'm going to break my back to be there. You know what I mean? So when I was able to figure that out easily, it was really stressful. And now this morning, I'm thinking to myself, Ben's watching me on camera. I'm like, oh, this is just so easy. And just, I have the process down. It's just, you're just in practice. And I think that's what a lot of this group is practicing amongst each other and getting some great information and support. And maybe not from me and Ben, from Daniel, from anybody that's out there that's willing to help each other out. Daniel, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. How you guys doing? Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, buddy. You drinking coffee? You a coffee guy?
Yeah, I'm already got one cup in. I got a nice little espresso machine. So, it's a push button one, right? So it just makes the cappuccino, the espresso, whatever I prefer. So I'll probably get a little espresso shot after this call.
Right on. Do that. I love a strong cup of coffee myself, man. No decaf, no half calf for me, man. Give me something that can walk down a dark alley and wreck shop. You know what I mean? I need something strong.
Yeah. We're in the Pacific Northwest over here, right? We're all coffee connoisseurs of some sort. So we got all these local shops. So, I've been trying to support them locally here and ordered a couple bags and mailed a couple bags. Haven't sent you one, Ben, because you're a Keurig guy. And I'll reserve my opinions there.
No.
Okay. Right on. Talk to me about the Keurig. I'm curious.
Hey, no, let me tell people about me. So yeah, we have the Keurig and we're burnt out on it, right? I'm over it. So we want the one where it makes the drip coffee. I want to go back to that, and I want the Keurig just for the just for the express version, to have it make it fast. But me and my wife do miss that drip coffee, you ground, you put it in there. We used to put it on the timer. You get that smell when you come downstairs and it's like, and it's just a beautiful smell. And we miss that. So we're waiting for the Keurig to break down, or one of these days I'm just going to knock it down with my elbow accidentally and it's going to smash. And we're like, okay, let's order it. So it's just a matter of time. We'll go back to that. So, I understand.
We got to talk on that. I got some recommendations on what you should get.
We started doing just using it for hot water when my wife makes tea or something. We stopped buying as many of the pods because the pods were driving me nuts. They're so expensive. You get a little, and I drink a lot of coffee. So I get what you're saying about a drip machine. That's what I'm going to need. So I'm 3-4 cups of coffee in the morning at least. You know, those pods start to stack up, and then you start thinking about all the waste and the plastic and everything else that gets in your head a little bit. I like a French press though.
Hey, Maddie, I got it on the live. She's like, how do you, let's say, she said we need a girl in there. So I don't know if she's trying to jump on.
I'm getting her in there. Dad, if you hear me, I'm getting you in there, girl.
Yeah, I'd say the French press is great. AeroPress, every time I visit my Ben, I always bring my AeroPress, so I grind my own beans there. He's like, what? It takes me like 10 minutes, but like, you know, it's a process, but very similar to the French press.
Yeah. It just, you know, you can adjust it as, stronger, you know, not as strong, whatever. It's right there. It's a couple cups of coffee that's just absolutely perfect in my opinion. So it sounds like
who drinks it black? Who drinks it black?
I'm drinking black.
I will drink it black, and that's where I first, Annette, that's where I first started drinking coffee, was really black. And then with my wife, she was really coffee drinker. She loved putting in her creams and espressos and all that. And, you know, she started making me coffee, and that's what I loved, is to start, I was like, wow, there's all these different flavors. Let's start enjoying it a little bit more.
You start experimenting. You're like, oh. Then what happens? You buy different flavors, and then you have the one that has a little bit left, and you dump it in. That's not enough. So you open the new one, and you start mixing things up. You're like, okay, let's see how this tastes.
Hey, absolutely. Annette, good morning. How are you doing? We're having a little bit of conversation about coffee. You're muted as well. Oh, there you go.
Good morning. I hear you. I think I have to turn off the Facebook feed because it comes in a little bit later.
Gotcha. Good to see you. Annette's a friend of mine. She's in the group as well, Daniel. She does, she's a ninja when it comes to a ManyChat. When you're talking and interacting with Facebook, and, you know, you get those chat bots and stuff like that. So I watch Annette. She does live every morning at 6 a.m. our time. She's out in Florida. So she talks a lot about those and marketing. So that's why wonderful and amazing to have you with us today. Thank you so much. I love bringing your experience to the group.
Thank you for inviting me, guys. So you need a girl in here.
Yes, we did.
And my voice is still there. So I was amazed. Yesterday, I put on my personal profile, I made my husband the happiest man on earth because I lost my voice. Oh, and I'm surprised how many people was happy about this. But so we trained like for the past 2 weeks, and now you really can hear it. But it's awesome. So I watch Maddie, Maddie watches me, I watch Ben, Ben watches me. So it's a great circle. So we all can learn from each other. And I can only encourage everybody to help each other out, listen what they have to say. And if you have questions, just jump in. We are all happy to help you guys out, because now it's even more. And I don't even have coffee. I have to stop coffee because it's rasping my voice. I have tea, but I love coffee.
I can't drink tea. I've tried to. My wife drinks tea. I just can't do it. Not for me.
Yeah. No, I had coffee this morning, but then I can feel it. And you're European as well, a little bit, Maddie, so sometimes we put a little cognac in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, just get a little spice.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like anything else, that the further you look at it, you know, the more details that there are in it, right? Just like cars, right? People just drive a car, but, oh yeah, I really like this type of car. I like red, or I like Ford, or I like Dodge Vipers, right? Like, people go into specific avenues of whatever they like. So that's the same thing with coffee. Like, you can go into so many different things, or even cognac for that example.
Oh yeah, cognac's a great one. Exactly. You know, so many different levels there.
That's the way, you know, so you speak to the people you want to speak to. You find your tribe. Is it black coffee? Is it black coffee with milk? Is it sweet coffee? So that's what it all is about. If you like black coffee, I like black coffee. Sometimes I like coffee with milk. So I think it's a tribe out there too.
Yep. At least we have the variety and we have the option. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, but don't use the drip machines. Too much
Oh,
garbage.
you just missed us. We were just talking. Ben is dying to get back with a drip machine.
Oh no. No, Ben. Too much garbage. Or maybe if they find something now, they maybe, when it drips in and everything resolves by itself into the coffee.
Oh, a filter that's contained. I think they have those kind of discs now.
I don't know, but
green thing they have. Yeah, my brother that French press my brother uses doesn't have a it doesn't have a filter or anything like that. It's just a little, right?
But I will tell you that coffee is very good as well. When you brew it fresh, put it in the French press and then just push it down. Ooh. Yeah. But you only get like 1 or 2 cups. Usually I brew coffee in the morning. It's like 12 cups. Goes me for the whole day.
Yeah. I want my coffee now, so I like my Keurig, and it goes in there and it's fast and easy. But I don't have the patience in the morning, right? I'm too I'm not balanced yet. So I need at least 1 cup of coffee.
You are not? Wow. Wow. You saw my post the other day, right? You are like balancing us. Maddie and I, we are loud and up there, and you are so mellow and that's good for me. So sometimes, so that's how my husband is. He is quiet and mellow. He just said to me this morning, go 2 octaves down. So that's how I am. So
yeah, it's I understand that because I've been in sales, so just having that conversation, like when I stagnate my breaths and it's a breathing like mechanism, because we get excited and lose our train of thought. So one of the things I tell people is we take a deep breath, and explain yourself, and then have that conversation, and that way you don't miss certain details. Have you ever had a conversation with someone, or you're trying to explain something to somebody, and then all of a sudden you remember, oh, I forgot to tell that person that thing. That was like the main thing, or maybe you just didn't give the right information. Well, that's why and that's because we're so excited to tell someone. When we watch a movie, this is a great example. Is like a movie, right? And you're like, oh man, I just saw this movie. I'm so excited, and you don't even know what to say. You're like, okay, oh yeah, and you just want to go to the ending and tell them the ending. You don't want to ruin it for them. So then you go back and you think about the beginning of the movie. And I do this with my brother all the time. And I go, okay, let me tell you about the movie. And I think that's a great way to practice maybe remembering things. Is when you watch a movie or you watch something that really you enjoyed, try not to tell them the ending, but try to tell them the beginning of the movie. Tell them some details about the characters, and try to get them excited about a movie. And then say, hey, and then watch. I want you to watch the movie. Let's have a conversation at the end. Maybe that's a great way to to practice. And I do this with my brother all the time.
And I ruin it for you. Read that book.
Yeah, building the story.
Now you know how movies go. When you read this book, your movies are destroyed for you, because now you know.
I've heard of that book. That's one I haven't read yet.
You need to read it.
It goes through the 7.
Donald Miller. Building a story brand, especially for us, Maddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
You are just the guide. Yeah, read it. So guys, it was nice jumping in here. I have to get out, but you needed like a pretty girl face in here. You are all pretty. So, but I hope I come back in, listen later. Thank you for inviting me in, and I talk to you later. Make it a great and amazing day, weekend. Stay healthy and safe, and nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you, Nat. Cheers.
Alrighty, perfect. Thank you. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
So Daniel, what's on deck for you today? Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm in the dark a little bit. I'm the odd man out.
Oh yeah, I'm Ben's little brother. No, that's it. Yeah. So I was trying to synthesize this because you guys are talking about introductions and things like that in your previous webcast. And I don't even know what they call them anymore. Webcasts, webinars. In my industry, we deal with a lot of older clientele, so we still call them webinars. Because they recognize what that is, but now it's like webcasts, it's video conferencing, teleconferencing, all of the above. Short story about me. I've worked in a variety of different industries. So I've worked in retail, communications, kind of in sales and customer service roles, kind of pivoted over to HR, administrative roles, and smaller private companies, technology, software. Primarily, I worked for a company that was one of the pioneers in web analytics. So they were pre-Google doing internet or intranet analytics. So like internal company websites analytics, like where are our internal clients? So in this case, like employees, where are they clicking in those internal websites? You know, SharePoint?
I've heard of it, yes.
So yeah, so they run analytics on SharePoints, which doesn't operate on the wider internet, operates on just the intranet.
Gotcha.
And so then pivoted over to a more strategic role, working in kind of industrial technology, so manufacturing in that area. So kind of pivoted from sales, customer service, HR, and
so much
just pivoted again. So after 5 years in HR, I decided to pursue kind of a passion that's always been a consistent thread of mine, and data and analytics. So now I work in finance, running data and analytics for them. So pretty cool.
Analytics for finance, and is it traditional finance? Would it be housing, automobile, luxury? I'm curious.
Wealth management.
Okay.
So
portfolios.
Yeah. So we just help folks plan for the next, what's their timeline horizon to when they want to retire and what they want to do. So we say, what are your goals in life? And from our starting point right now, how do we get you to that end goal?
Right on. And you do that with investments, I would imagine. And I don't know, I'm very limited in my knowledge there, but mutual funds, I know annuities. I know bonds are very safe, but they don't yield much. I know a little bit. So, if you had, I'm just thinking of my mother, 7 years old, living in a reverse mortgage home, she's got a little bit of money coming in, she likes to do a little bit of investing. What would you suggest for there? And I'm just making conversation.
Yeah. So I'm not in an advising situation, but everyone's case is unique. That's my non-fiduciary disclaimer.
Gotcha.
But really, work with someone that can really do an analysis of the situation. And I think in anything else, what is your goal, right? A lot of the clients that I've seen, kind of what I understand is that people aren't planning for themselves when they're doing wealth management. They're thinking about their kids, their grandkids, and sustaining them, right?
Right.
People work their whole lives, 30, 40, 50 years even, to have this nest egg, whatever that nest egg is, right? And they go, okay, this is enough to sustain me and the things that I want to do later in life. But to be clear about, okay, what about after I'm gone? Do I want my children to be in a situation where they absorb all this debt or anything like that? So it's really being thoughtful and being realistic. It's a hard conversation to have
right.
When you start to talk about when I'm not here, right? You start to realize, I think everyone's realized their mortality in this whole environment, right? Like, wow,
totally.
I could be gone next week, right? So how many people have, I would say, first thing, do you have your stuff in order? Do you know what your goals are clearly for the next 30 years? Do you want to retire when you're 50? Do you want to retire when you're 60? Do you want to work till you're 75? Some folks don't have that thought till it's too late from a planning sense.
Well, I know I had my wife and I just recently, in the past couple of years, we had the life insurance conversation. We had to get our life insurance all set and have those conversations. So I get it, I mean, I'm just hitting 45, So I never thought I was immortal just a couple of years ago. I was never going anywhere. I was, you know how that works. Everything's tomorrow. And it seems like you said, with the events of these days, that tomorrow is here. We need to plan now.
Exactly. So it's just, getting your affairs in order and being clear on line of sight. So that way, again, we talk about, we have clients, as early in their mid-20s that, have very little wealth in comparison to the rest of the client group. And then we have folks within that 50 to 65 range that are approaching retirement, getting ready to retire. And you go, okay, we have this much time. So let's say I want to retire in the year, I think right now, 30 years, 2050 is my calculated retirement date if I retire at the standard age of 65, 60-ish, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I have 30 years to come up with a dollar amount that will satisfy my lifestyle, whatever that lifestyle may be at that point in time, and whatever medical issues or whatever, right? Because as we get older, as I've realized, right, our medical costs tend to go up a little bit over time. They're not going down anytime soon, right?
Totally. Yeah, that's not sinking at all.
Yeah. One of the things about Daniel, and I'm going to point it out because I see he is actually one of the you went through like the Toastmasters, right? Because if you don't know something about people don't know about Daniel, well, a lot of our family members know. If you know, Daniel's actually almost like could be like a professional public speaker. That every time we have a wedding or a party or something like that, they always ask Daniel to stand up and talk and say something. So not many people know this, but even company meetings, Daniel's the guy where they have him come up and say, Daniel, we need you to go up there and talk about this. So I want, if there's something you can talk about, standing up in front of people, talking to people, Daniel, can you just tell us like what a couple tips off the bat, like what? Because trust me, when he goes in and talks, everyone's like claps and like, wow, that was awesome, and he's got charisma, and he's got that little joke, and just comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, man, that was great. No plan, no nothing, just comes up there and does it. So what little secrets that you have, or what's?
Totally. I'm all ears.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you my let me do a quick journey up to public speaking. I still am very scared of public speaking. You know, I think you talk to anyone that does it for a living or does it all the time, right? There's still an element of just getting up in front of people, right? And I remember the very first speech I did in third grade. Remember Dare? You know, the anti-drug campaign stuff?
Yes, I do.
Remember that? Yeah. So I was in third grade when I was kicking around, and they made us write these reports about like why we wouldn't do drugs or whatever. I remember like writing this thing, and like they made us like go up and like present this speech, and I was like, and I froze. I really, as you can see when I smile, I have my right cheek goes up a little bit higher. Well, in third grade, I would have this nervous tick where my cheek would like do this weird twitchy thing, and I still remember that to this day, feeling how scared I was there. And that continued all the way through middle school and high school. And I started playing guitar, and signed up for the talent show. I said, you know, I got to conquer this fear. So I signed up for the school talent show, played a little guitar in front of a couple hundred, maybe even close to 1,000 people. And I don't remember doing the performance there, but it kind of put a jolt of that's the most extreme situation where that's the most people I would ever be in front of at one point in time. So then I went to start doing like, you know, college, college presentations and things like that, smaller groups. So it kind of made that a little bit easier. So I went to one extreme there. And then at the end of college, I realized that I went to a business school. So I'm a double major in human resources management and business management. And one of the things coming out of college was there's so much public speaking and communication and interaction, and that's key in anything. At the root of everything, we're just really trying to convey ideas to each other and make sure, hopefully, that person at the other end understands that idea from my perspective, or whatever perspective we're trying to present. So like in the case of HR, right, we're trying to drive organizational design and development and a clear mission for the employees. So everyone understands the mission and is aligned on the mission. So when we have alignment, right, we can focus and attack whatever our goal is. Right. That seemed to be always something that I wanted to work on. So Toastmasters is just a good opportunity to drive and build that skill in a non-graded environment, in a non-like business critical environment, right? Because if you drop an F-bomb in the middle of a business presentation, right, that's bad, right? Or even in school, right? You're gonna get that mark, right? Like, oh,
yeah, totally.
One F-bomb, right? But Toastmasters is really a safe environment where it's nearly it's I wouldn't say judgmental, but they do give you feedback, and it's not like
It's critical feedback. It's positive feedback, and that's the thing, right?
Exactly. It's real-time feedback and positive and negative feedback. So they're always to talk about the compliment sandwich and these things, right? Here's something you did really good, Daniel. Here's something you didn't do not so good, but you also did this good too. So like they kind of like there's a format to how they deliver that feedback to you. But there's really a couple things that you'll go through like an introductory speech, your icebreaker speech is what they call it, is your very first written speech that you write out. And so they'll send you like a mentor to help you write the speech, right? Because the one thing that, I've always been good at impromptu speaking, which is another method that they practice at Toastmasters, but actually writing down the speech and constructing a speech is its own other thing. So I think that's what the best thing about Toastmasters is just that teaches you how to articulate your thought, your flow. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I just told you I was going to tell you. And then I'm going to remind you what I just told you. So you hit them 3 times, right? I'm going to talk about the clouds today. All right, hey, the clouds are very, white and the sky is blue. All right, hey guys, we just talked about the sky and how blue it was today. Or the clouds. Like it's like, okay, we talked about clouds. Like, so I'm really drilling it down to 3 points, right? Not putting too much data, not data overload on people, right? Not I got so much information, and what did we just talk about? You ever go watch a TED Talk? You're like, they talked about a lot of stuff,
and you miss 90% of it.
Yeah,
right, totally.
That's why I watch these. I love watching short YouTube videos, right? Because they just right, just give it to me, boom,
right.
But yeah, so Toastmasters, I definitely recommend that for anyone just looking to practice communication skills. Like, so they have the rehearsed speech, and you get to see really truly, I call them orators, people that tell really good stories. And that's where kind of, I would say I see sales, I see marketing, I see branding is stories being told. What is the story of I think you guys talk about personal branding, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And so what is your story that ties into that brand and tells that brand? You can't go out there and say, I stand for X, Y, and Z. Let your story speak for why you stand for X, Y, and Z.
And that's something I'm learning. You touched on something that's really near and dear to me, because I'm a great cheerleader. I like to cheer other people on. I like to help. But when it comes to me, I'm not great at telling my story of why. Hey, I'm just me, and that's something I always said for many, many years. Well, Maddie, you're great. I'm just me. Don't worry about it. But I need to get better at telling my story. And I've tried to do that this year. That's something that I've been working on is, this is Maddie. This is what Maddie's about, and welcoming people in. And not even about a business thing, because my business is, you're going to figure out my business. And that's one thing that I try and be clear about. But inviting people in and showing them about me and telling my story, that's something I've always struggled with, is exactly what you're saying. So having that group of trusted people that you can rely on to tell your story and say, like you said, hey, this is something you did good, something you could work on, and hey, this came out great, really is important. And that's one of the things we've always tried to do here at the group too, on a little bit different level, but the same kind of principle. Hey, we want you to try, we want you to experiment, we want you to feel comfortable with what you're doing. And you're not going to feel comfortable putting it in front of everybody, but you can feel comfortable here and tell your message, and in the same time create friends, engagement, more business, and all that. So absolutely,
that's it. Toastmasters, each group has its own different flavors. So I went to one in the downtown location full of professionals in the local area, people that worked downtown. So it was just
different vibe.
Different vibes, different types of people that had investment bankers to city planners to people like myself that were just out of college, working their first gigs. And so it's really, I met some great people there. It's a good opportunity to network and just meet people out there. I'll talk about the impromptu speaking really quick. They do a drill exercise where it was one of my favorite ones, because you get to see what people really could they think on the fly.
Right.
And so they ask you just a random question like, okay, hey, this was in the news this week. If you were that person in that situation, you know, what would be your response if someone said this? And you're like, oh, okay. Like, and you have 10 seconds to think of a response, and you have to have a minute to a minute to minute 30 response. And they're counting all your ums and your buts and your so's and your likes and your lip smacks and every little thing, right? And you're like, I didn't realize that I said 100 times in 90 seconds. You know.
I rewatched my video editing for my business. Hey, go ahead, Ben.
No, and that's why I did it again. I tell people we need to practice. You watch the live, you can be self-critical with yourself, right? Sometimes I watch a live and I watch myself and I go, oh man, this was there or someone's there. And you are going to have the critics, right? And that's okay. Again, but the critics are going to come no matter what. The people, the judgmental people, the haters, the people are going to say, but there's a big difference what we're doing and what they're not doing is that we're putting our message out stronger than anyone else. You can comment and troll, or you can be whatever, or give a mad emoji. But when you do that, all you're doing is helping the credibility of our video, of our post, or whatever it is, because now you're starting to build that engagement, right? And that's the hardest things for being absorbing the critique, right? So when you were handling the critique, Daniel, and people were saying to you, how did that make you feel, and how did you get over that? That's the thing that I took.
Well, I think the biggest difference from real-time feedback in a closed environment, a safe environment, where from the beginning it's like, hey, you know, we're here to get better. We're all here to get better today, versus the online environment where I feel like sometimes things can be lost in reception, not necessarily translation. Like, we get the message, but like, how am I actually receiving that message, and what is my inference of the message itself, right?
Yeah.
I think it's great that when people put like a happy emoji or you know, just a heart, you know, like, hey, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm going to give you some feedback here, right? I wouldn't even say I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just like, hey, I saw this, and this, you know, versus like, I think there's a good experiment online where people like stop putting exclamation points on their emails to like show excitement, right? So like, awesome period versus awesome.
Right.
So it's your inference, right? Like, I read awesome. Like,
does it
awesome.
go over the top?
Yeah. And you see it all the time. Like, you know, you're putting so much exclamation points because you're trying to be excited about it, right? So I think it's trying to understand that people, when you read something that someone's maybe not necessarily their primary motivation there is not to troll you, it's to actually give you good feedback. And I think if you go and take any type of situation and infer the best intention first versus the worst intention, I think you're going to come out unscathed.
That is something that I take with me every day in my business, is because I do a lot of communication and a lot of it is electronic. And I'm, you know, if I, you know, my transaction coordinator sent something to me the other day saying, hey, he's not going to go there. And my first response is, why the heck is he not going to go there? Why will he not do this? What reason does he have versus, you know, what's the challenge, or give me a little bit more information. So I try and catch myself, something I practice on. So absolutely, you gotta, you know, maybe meet them where they're at, or you know, I like to say, you know, play dumb or be inquisitive. Hey, what did you mean by that? Or hey, clarify that or something before you jump to the negative.
Sure. Yeah. So easy to read something negative nowadays. I think it's a element of I wouldn't say fortitude, but maybe character, maybe introspectiveness, as far as like being able to look at the situation, take a step back and saying, hey, I'm maybe I'm into the weeds of this, and maybe this guy or this person that's messaging me, maybe they're unaware of how they're coming across even, right?
Totally. I think the whole world can do a little bit of that. I know I can work on that totally.
I think everyone can work on that's something I myself, you know, even I think I made a live video. I made a live video on Easter, and it was just a happy Easter video, and just telling everybody, hey, what I was doing. You know, we do these like little live videos, and someone put like a mean face emoji on there, and I was like, why is this guy, you know, like? But at the same time, I stood back and I go, who knows? Who knows what's
alone on Easter? Maybe they're with their family.
Exactly. You don't know. So we just have to just keep on moving. And that's what I tell people. And everyone that's been part of the BS and Entourage and everyone out there, we all together, we're all putting our live videos out. We've all dealt with it, trolls and negative comments or people trying to be snarky with you. And I just tell people, hey, you just got to, don't feed into it, because if you do, that's not your main objective, is to deal with that. That's just something that's going to be part of it. And I remember, I remember Dan Locke when I met him, and I asked, and I told him about the BSN group, and he's like, do you have any haters? I go, yeah, I have haters. I was like, I had to block a lot of people. Yeah, so they're gonna come if you're not. And if you don't know who Dan Locke, this guy's a master copywriter. He's looking him up on Instagram. But that's the first thing he told me, and I was like, yeah, I do have. We have haters, so you have to. They're gonna come along. Especially on social media. I've been pushing my brother to do live videos, and I'm telling him, hey, this is where it's going to be at. We had this conversation last year with you. I said, hey, live videos, you're off. You need to be having a conversation with people, sharing your information, and this is where it's
today, Daniel. You came in. I mean, we just did an art of introduction just a little bit ago, but you blew it out of the water right now with the tips that you gave, the way you came in, and talked about your introduction, your experience. Man, you hit every nail on the head, and that, if you could deliver that to your audience, I mean, that's huge. I mean, thank you.
Totally appreciate those sentiments. It's been a thing that's been in the back of my head. Right now, I was trying to just focus on, literally just started this job at the beginning of February, different periods. So I'm like, oh yeah, so this is a good opportunity to test out what I can do. I haven't seen myself on a screen in quite some time.
You're good, man. You look good. I like Michael Jackson over there. I see Hotel California in the background.
Oh yeah, that's my album wall back there. So you got Michael Jackson probably there in the corner, Hotel California, and a couple other variants there. That's actually artwork from the previous company I used to work for over the technology or software company. They had was working for software companies. They have beer on tap there, kombucha on tap, right? And they had this album wall. And so when we moved offices, I was like, hey, what's going on with that album wall? And they let me take it out. The unfortunate thing, those aren't real albums. They're just like really nice prints of the album covers. Some of that, I do have most of the albums on that wall, but I wish they were actual albums, because it's nice to actually see the depth in them. But to your point, right? So I think public speaking, whether it's public speaking, interacting online, what you guys are doing, it's just doing it. That first one, right? I go back to, right? It was that first guitar performance in front of 1,000 people that really okay, I can do this. And anything else less than that, if I'm talking to 10 people, it's actually going to be a little bit easier.
Okay, right?
So, but it's just sustaining your what your mission is, right? Whether it's public speaking. So that's why it's we had a lot of people that would come in for one Toastmasters, and they would never get any better because there wasn't any repetition of that thing that they were trying to develop, whether it was impromptu speaking, rehearsed speaking, or even the feedback were speeches. So someone would listen to your speech and they would write their own speech on your speech. It wouldn't be like, hey, you did this, dude, you did this bad, and you did this good. It would be like, okay, hey, thanks, Manny, for coming in today. Appreciate it. It's your first time, second time, whatever time it is. And, we talked about these things. It was a really great speech, da-da-da-da. And so people would be, you'd have to write this speech as you're listening to the speech. So it was really good exercise in active listening, which in the sales environment, right, it's you have to be able to actively listen and being able to digest that information and process it, but also let that person know that you listen to them. And
right.
I think at the core of it, if you're engaged with a potential client, potential customer, internal, external, if they don't feel like they're heard, it invalidates them, right? And
Yep.
when you feel invalidated, you've lost rapport, trust, right?
100%.
Throws the whole thing off.
And that's my whole mission of the group. That's my whole mission to share with people. It's the simplicity. It's the engagement, right? It's the creating value and then making the connection. I'm always going to go back to that because I truly believe engaging if it's on social media, face-to-face, on the phone, if it's on text message or email, you have to learn how to you have to practice engaging all the time. That's something that we took for granted, because now look at us, we're doing this. Now we're practicing the art of engagement on a phone or a device. This is a whole new thing for all of us, right? I'm doing it for work conferences too. I'm like having meetings every morning. On Microsoft, on the Microsoft version of this. So you have to learn how to do these kind of meetings and conversations, or you're just going to be behind. You're going to lose information. You're going to lose communications. Even my brother and I, we have a group with all our family members on FaceTime, and you can FaceTime and have a family conversation. And I just call, and whoever picks up, if it's my mom, my brother, my other brothers, my sister, and once in a while, because what's happening now, rather than, because we took that for granted. We took it.
The past will be there, right?
No, it's like, hey, but my mom can't come see us. She can't take a flight over here. We're planning the trip to go see my brother this summer. We're like, but just now we dial through, and hey, who picks up the phone? And we're FaceTiming each other. We're walking around the house. We're doing this and this and this, and hey, blah, 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 blah. And then, okay, have a great day. And this is going to be the new norm. And we gotta practice. You gotta get ahead of this. We gotta be ahead of the game. And one of the things, one of the verbs or one of the little quotes on our lives that I think Daniel and I have learned is we always have to be ahead of the game, right? That's kind of our little, I don't know, I was taught that, the survival. You gotta be ahead of the game a little bit, right? Have a little bit of information. You don't have to be so I wouldn't say so ahead where you're just more than everybody, but just a little bit, just have a little bit, get a head start before everyone else does.
Sure.
Well, it's playing.
In the morning.
Go ahead.
No, that's why we get up early in the morning, get a head start. Exactly what you're saying. Get ahead, practice, keeping your head sharp, whatever you're learning. Toastmasters, it's all about sharpening. The skills aren't here. They're not present within you right now. And if they're not, that's okay. And they're not in most people, but you have to take that stone and you have to start honing it, practicing it, and taking the information. And, I had somebody reach out to me the other day, gave me a post. I was like, hey, you might want to change some things. I saw the post come out, and it was amazing, totally night and day. And it made me happy that little bit of feedback I was able to give somebody, they implemented it and they were successful. So that's, practice makes perfect. Daniel, I mean, you took that one event of the talent show and really exploded that in your life, saying, hey, this is, one thing that I'm going to overcome. And you've taken that from just our conversation here and able to now convey your message publicly in larger, smaller groups and get your point across, understood, and have that rapport. And that's amazing. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's just and I think at the same time, I think that continues to be a soft spot of mine, but also developing the things that you're good at as well. I think there's a lot of focus on development of your weakest link or whatever, but also doubling down on what you're good at.
Agreed. I told Ben this the other day. I'm like, I know there's shortfalls I have that he covers. I'm like, I like to work to my strengths. There's some things I'm outstanding at and things that I'm just not good at, can't focus on. And just those details just don't work in my head, but other things I work at a high level. So finding those people to complement you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why when Matt doing all the YouTube, Matt does behind the scenes stuff, right? Like if it's the screen behind us, all the stuff that he's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, go. I'm always like, go for it, do it, because. And then he's like, and I'm like, and he's like, oh, I gotta do it, and he's getting better. And I've seen like what and even his funnels, his websites, and his pictures, man, looks so much better than, because you're always practicing and doing it. And you practiced before, now you're implementing a different system, but you're putting it all together. It's like that's your branding. It's you. And we talked about getting different ideas, and we talk about watching these people and just cut and pasting there, but you're not necessarily duplicating their system. You just like that part that works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what it is. And I always go back to even to my like the jiu-jitsu or my martial arts is and I would say the black belts, a really good black belt knows 1,000 moves, knows 1,000, all these techniques, all these different variables in grappling or wrestling or whatever. But the reality, he's really, really good at three to four, 5 moves. That's like that are his invincible moves. And that no one can stop him with those moves. And that's what makes a solid black belt, right? Is being good at 3 or 4 or 5 good moves and really always hitting it, right? And we're always learning and we're trying to progress. You're right, our weaknesses, but you can't forget your strong moves because those are your bread and butter moves. Those are the ones that are going to work when nothing else is working. You got to go to your best and attack and win, right? So that he remembers that. That's why he reminded me with the keep your strength always strong at the same time. Your strong moves.
Absolutely. Guys, this was we're about 45 minutes in. This is a phenomenal Open Mic Friday. Thank you, Daniel, very much for joining us. Man, you gave us so many tips, a lot of great information. I appreciate the interaction and meeting you. Ben's actually told me a little bit about you, so it's really awesome to meet you face-to-face, as much face-to-face as we can meet these days. And
yeah, absolutely.
And join us. We're doing this more often. We do the shows during the week. The Monday is marketing, Tuesday tool tips and apps, Wednesday is our WTFs, where we try and share some of the not so great stories of what we've done, bad decisions we made, horrible business tools we bought, stuff like that. And Thursday is our lead generation. So if there's something in there you could step in, we would love to have you, man. This was phenomenal. I hope everybody out there that's watching us got some great value out of what Daniel was saying. Toastmasters, again, if you're looking to hone your skills in speaking in front of a camera, in front of people, or just your customer, that's an outstanding way to get some practice and really hone it. So, Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really happy Daniel came along because he's actually someone I consult with all the time. I have conversations about if it's technology, if it's about an application, or you okay? Just kind of things that I needed to clear out of my mind, right? So I thought you and Maddie would really, really get along, Daniel, because I know you guys would have the same. You guys like to play with the same, just kind of like the tech stuff and a lot of things you can share together. And that's the whole goal of this group, again, is to put people together. Hey, let me introduce you to my brother. You guys would get along, right? And let me introduce you to Matt, because you never know in the future there's something that you guys might have a communication or relationship with, right? You guys can later add each other as friends on Facebook, and then you're real friends versus I'm just friend requesting people. I've never had a conversation with this guy, and I don't even know who this guy is on my Facebook. But at least now you can friend request each other, and now that's Ben's brother, right? And you know a little bit about him, and you really know who he is as a person. So that's the whole goal of the group, in this group, right? So if you come on, we have a conversation, we talk, and that's the real the root of networking and creating a relationship.
And engagement. Daniel, anything you'd like to leave us with? A last note, anything like that?
Yeah, just a quick plug for toastmasters.org. They, if you guys are interested, you can just go to that site, pop in your zip code, and it'll tell you all the clubs in your area. So usually I do one for my work area and then one that's close to home, whatever fits your schedule. I've gone to sessions that start at 6 a.m. on the dot. And I'd say another thing is they're very specific about punctuality. They start at 6, they end at 6:45. They'll cut it off. They're very respectful of everyone's time. But there's different groups, different flavors. Sometimes I've been the ones where it's all retired people, and they're just doing this to keep their skills up and just keep engaged and network in their own communities. And there's professional ones like the one I mentioned downtown. I think Ben mentioned this, fundamentals, right? It's all about mastering and falling back to your fundamentals in those scenarios. And I'll end with a quote here, a Greek quote that I always like. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. So when S hits the fan, it's really that training and your instincts that take care of you in those situations, right?
Totally. That's what's going to carry you through your experience, your training, your knowledge, not what you wanted to do, not what you should have done last year, not the book you should have read, but it's what you know. And that's why we're saying, hey, be prepared. Know what you need to do. Have that experience. Practice. Be consistent. My name is Maddie. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate the time you spent with us. I hope that this was valuable to you. We have a YouTube channel as well, but we're here Monday through Friday live, 7:30. Join us anytime. Thank you so much. And again, remember always, slay the day, everyone. Take care. Bye, everyone.